Glory to Jesus Christ. Today is Wednesday, March 30th, and as usual on Wednesdays during the fast, we celebrate the liturgy of the pre-sanctified gifts. And at pre-sanctified liturgies, there's usually two readings done, one from Genesis, one from Proverbs. Actually, tonight we'll have 5 readings because we're celebrating the repose of St. Innocent of Alaska. But the second reading that we'll hear tonight from Proverbs has the prokimenon that precedes it, and it's from Psalm 72. And the prokimenon we'll hear tonight is, "It is good for me to be near my God." And the verse is, "Truly God is good to Israel, to those who are pure in heart." And interesting is that that verse is the first verse of Psalm 72, and the beginning of the prokimenon, "It is good for me to be near my God," is towards the very end of the psalm itself. So let's read Psalm 72. "How good God is to Israel, to the upright in heart." That's the verse that we hear tonight in the prokimenon. "But as for me, my feet were almost shaken. My steps had nearly slipped, for I was jealous of the lawless when I beheld the peace of sinners, for there is no upward gaze at their death, nor steadfastness in their chastening. They are not in difficulties as other men, and they shall not be chastened with other men. For this reason arrogance mastered them. They clothed themselves with their wrongdoing and ungodliness. Their wrongdoing shall go forth as from fatness. They passed through to their heart's intent. They thought and spoke in evil. They spoke in wrongdoing to the height. They set their mouth against heaven, and their tongue passed through the earth. For this reason my people shall return here. Days of fullness shall be found in them. They said, How does God know? Is there knowledge in the Most High? Behold, these are sinners, and they prosper. They possess wealth in this age. And I said, Surely in vain have I kept my heart righteous, and washed my hands with the innocent. For all day long I was scourged, and my reproof persisted through the night. If I should speak, I would describe it thus: Behold, I am breaking covenant with the generation of your children. And I sought to understand this. It was difficult in my sight, until I came into God's holy place and understood their end. Surely for their deceits you appointed deceits for them. You cast them down in their exultation. Oh, how they came into desolation suddenly! They ceased to be, they perished in their lawlessness. Like a dream to one who is awakened, so, O Lord, you shall despise their image in your city. For my heart was kindled, and my reins were changed. Again, and I was despised, and I did not know. I became like a beast before you, and I am continually with you. You hold fast my right hand. With your counsel you guide me, and with glory you take hold of me. For what is there in heaven for me but you? And what do I desire on earth besides you? My heart and my flesh fail. O God of my heart, and God is my portion forever. For behold, those who keep themselves far away from you shall perish. You destroy away all from you all who act unfaithfully. But as for me, it is good to cling to God, to put my hope in the Lord, that I may proclaim all your praises in the gates of the daughter of Zion. And this is Psalm 72. So the last verse, 28, but as for me, it is good to cling to God, to be near God. So that's the prokimenon we'll hear this evening. This psalm seems to me really an encapsulation of all of our lives. Which one of us at some point has not been jealous of someone who we see that does wrong things, and yet somehow in an earthly sense they seem to be rewarded for them. And this psalm points out that in a flash, suddenly, that all of that can disappear, and that we're not striving here on earth to cling to earthly things, but to cling to God. Again, it's a struggle going through life, not being jealous, just like the elder son in the parable of the prodigal son. Another interesting thing about this psalm is the title of it, and it says it is a psalm for Asaph, A-S-A-P-H, and Saint Augustine of Hippo helps us with that because it's a word we don't hear very often. And he writes, whose voice is the psalm? Of Asaph. What is Asaph? As we find in interpretations from the Hebrew language into the Greek, and those again translated to us from the Greek into the Latin, Asaph is interpreted synagogue. It is the voice, therefore, of the synagogue. It is the voice, but when you have heard synagogue, do not forthwith abhor it as if it were the murderer of the Lord. That synagogue was indeed the murderer of the Lord, no man doubts it. But remember that from the synagogue were the rams whereof we are the sons. Whence it is said in a psalm, bring to the Lord the sons of rams. What rams are they? Peter, John, James, Andrew, Bartholomew, and the rest of the apostles. Hence also he too at first Saul, afterwards Paul. That is, at first proud, and afterward humble. Therefore even Paul came to us from the synagogue, and Peter and the other apostles from the synagogue. Therefore when you hear the voice of the synagogue, do not look to the deserving thereof, but observe the offspring. There is speaking, therefore, in this psalm the synagogue, after the failing of the hymns of David, the son of Jesse, that is, after the failing of things temporal, earthly, through which God was wont to be praised by the carnal people. But why did these fail, except in order that others might be sought for? That there might be sought for what? Was it things which were not there? No, but things which were there being hidden in figures, not which were not yet there, but which there as it were in a sort were concealed in certain secret things of mysteries. What things? These, says the apostle himself, were our figures. So this psalm is the voice of the synagogue. We might be able to say that it's also the voice of the church. So this evening at the Presanctified Liturgy, when you hear those words, it is good for me to be near my God. We can be reminded of Psalm 72. Glory to Jesus Christ.